Hello and welcome to this video. This is part 2 of Snow White. I think I'm calling it that anyways, and I'm still going to do a little bit of flow. So if you haven't seen these videos before, welcome back if you have. I think this is going to be part 2. I'm going into a little flow, so I'm just going to roll with it. You have to watch video 1 most likely to understand this one. So welcome if you haven't seen these videos before. I'll provide the link for the first video. And my intention, of course, with all of these videos is for the benevolence for all and to assist in raising our awareness around ascension and the cycles that we're going through. So I'm talking a little bit about the chakra system, and I'm just going to go into snow right now. So the snow is a molecular structure which is reorganizing itself. It is reactivating, if so to speak, if you will. When the climates change, so too does the snow structure change. I've been asking, when does it become a pyramid, and when does it become a hexagon? And so as the snow structure changes, it, let's say, pulls apart from each other, yet at the same time, that porous space changes how the light interacts with it. And so as these particles are accelerated, there becomes a cohesiveness to them. So this is reference to what I talked about in the last video. The snow exchanges with the light energy, for the water is an intelligent being, just as the sun is a form of intelligence as well. As they connect with one another, they assist in creating this molecular structure within the body, on the earth, and within one another. It's like an energy exchange somehow. As these beautiful divine snowflakes then interact with one another, they bounce off of one another. They essentially exchange information, and those snowflakes that are more cohesive, there's another word that I'm trying to see, that hold a certain harmonious frequency, are then able to receive the information in a pattern that other snowflakes are perhaps not able to receive. And what I'm seeing is because they're dense, they're heavier or more dense in their energy. So the less dense the snowflake, the more light is able to come through. And in addition to that, the more light bounces off of that snowflake. So now I'm seeing reference to the collective, and let's say there's this huge snow pile, and we'll call this the collective consciousness. And within this snow pile, there's sections of the snow, we'll call it California, my hometown. So we'll say there's sections of California that are more dense and heavier energy. Then there's sections of California, or you might even call it United States. There's sections that are lighter energy, and we'll say that that's the snow. And so the denser crystals are then compacted within certain areas, and they're light and fluffy within other areas. This changes, in essence, to the temperature as well as the quality of light that is interacting in this snowflake representation. And so the rainbows that the water essentially holds, that too the sun shines upon, are refracted, so to speak. So I'm kind of seeing the cover of Pink Floyd, which is funny because I was actually guided to wear my Pink Floyd shirt first, and then instead I put this one on because I was thinking, oh, it's because it's a rainbow. But they're showing me the dark side of the moon, like the rainbow going through the pyramid and how it's refracted out. And it bounces off, let's say, I'm using those access points in my last video. Let's say light comes in through the blue and it reflects out in red and it goes over here. And I'm seeing it activate, let's say someone is here, but they're maybe having some difficulty in their root chakra. But another person comes along and they're fully balanced. This snowflake goes and beams out this blue energy, and boom, it lights up that other person's chakra, and now they're able to communicate better. So this is what it means by all the star seeds are activating one another. So sometimes I might share a collective message, and someone might feel it in their heart, but somebody else might feel like they had a dream that night about something they were afraid of and didn't realize, and they were able to integrate that in order to open their heart. So it works in a myriad of ways. So as these snowflakes coagulate, so to speak, in certain areas, they have a profound impact on the expansion process. And so as the sun comes in and lights up these particles, so to speak, and accelerates the expansion process, it then allows those that are stuck in a denser form or part of the ice to so let's say that there is a person who's really stuck and this person comes into their field. They're going to help to bring in that Beethoven, right? To bring into that light, in essence, just by being there and holding space is what they're showing me. So essentially you see all these snowflakes together, and I'll have to draw this in another video, but there are all these different shapes, but the beauty is this particular snowflake is really open in the heart, and this other particular snowflake is beaming all this sunshine energy from the stomach, and this other particular snowflake is like, my crown's wide open, and they're intermingling and essentially lighting up the grids that way. And the chakra systems. So I'm just going to go backtrack just for a second and remind everybody that this is this representation is just one of many, and this is only based on my ability to understand this and to convey it. So there will be other teachers out there who will take it like 20 steps further. This is just a very small perspective on a very broad, I'm hearing a very broad bandwidth of activity. Flurry is what they're saying, snow flurry. And so it just depends on the direction of the wind. It depends on the intention of the individual, and it depends, of course, on their life experiences of how they will then project this knowledge, so to speak. So what they're, so I'm going to go back into that space for just a moment. So there's lots of ways of looking at this. We're going to talk about the snow. What they're saying is, and so there are those light fluffy snowflakes on the top, and as the sun comes through, they help melt down into the other crystals that were icy or packed tight, and it helps create space so that they can also melt, so to speak, or be in a more flow. And I'm being guided earlier. I talked about going from carbon-based to crystalline. In the last video, I said carbon-based to something. I meant to say crystal, and I was just distracted. So in that moment, but essentially going from here, carbon, we'll call this, to crystalline. And there's more to it. But essentially, that then changes the geometries or the shapes and the patterns in not only the person's field, but in their chakra systems. So we're using snow as an example. So then you have all the colors of the rainbow, the sun, or let's just call it sound, harmonics, love, light, coming in to then spin our fields. And then as they spin, picture levitation. So I picture something spinning so fast that it just is. It's no longer an individualized, it goes so fast that it essentially explodes and creates this one beautiful morphing of all of these centers. And so it was, let's say, okay, so they're showing me, I talked last time about the dwarves and they mined for stones. And you've got your ruby, you've got your, I can see it, I just can't think of it, it starts with the C, that orange crystal. You've got your citrine, for example, or your yellow topaz, or whatever your sacral, this is. You've got your emerald, you've got your sapphire, star sapphire, or ruby sapphire, which I always thought was interesting because you've got your ruby, and I always saw this as a star sapphire connected to amethyst. So everything undergoes, everything starts out as quartz, for example. It starts out as quartz crystal, and then it grows into these other crystals. But then they're showing me at the end it's becoming a diamond. Or so we're embodying this diamond aspect. And a diamond holds all the colors. It's white, it's clear, but if you look at it or think of it as a rainbow quartz, if diamond isn't your thing, but essentially it's diamond. And if you look at its shape, it's got many facets. So all these are different facets of the diamond, but now they're all vibrating together, and it's no longer individual crystals. They've all been morphed into a diamond frequency. And this is just one perspective. And as you are like diamond dust, so to speak, because I'm thinking of stardust, this stardust intermingles and allows a certain vibratory field to then reflect, to then refract, and allows these other frequencies that are disturbing harmonics, they no longer, because you're crystallized, they're no longer affecting the field as much. They're no longer affecting the collective as much, because the little snowflakes are turning on, and now you're diamond. And you've heard the term tough as a diamond, right? Because they're completely integrated. There's also something they're showing me with the architecture of the diamond to look at maybe at a later video. I'm just going to talk briefly about, well, okay, I was going to go into a little bit of the science aspect of water and snow, but let's just see where this goes. And as these beautiful snowflakes ignite, so what they're showing me is all of the elements. They're showing me alchemy. They're showing me an example of the chakra systems. And I talked in the last video about this being a forge. And so let's say the sun comes in, it lights up all of our star particles. It accelerates this, think of a collider, what is it, a collision, essentially. These start spinning, everything starts going, and it lights up like this laser beam full of rainbow frequency, right? And then it's white, or I see it as a luminescent. If you've seen a bubble, I see it as the colors of a bubble. Like it looks like white rainbow. It's beautiful. So now you've got this tube of energy, essentially, that is all of these beautiful shapes and snowflakes interacting, commingling, and working together. So as these patterns then harmonize with the soul expression, so to speak, they then align with everything, life path, communication. I see it just kind of like, again, connecting into this matrix field that's all around us. I'm hearing that shine bright like a diamond. So it increases the shine, and so it's expanding out our auric field as well. So whereas before, if you looked at different if you look at a rainbow and you line up all those crystals, they each have a beautiful color, and if you look at each individual one, they each represent a beautiful pattern. But then if you turn it all into a diamond and you shine light through it, it's brighter. So I'm seeing that kind of expand out people's auric fields as well, which then create more space. So like, for example, I'm seeing the snow. And of course, if it's really compact, you've got all this patterns. Now you've got someone whose auric field goes out even bigger. And so they're even activating people in a bigger way as well that are not even as close to them, perhaps. From one perspective, there's so much more that goes to it, but they just wanted me to kind of go into that a little bit. Ishtarat indras tashtarak ishtirihit ishtarak doros tishtar endris tishtarak indrahak arak anaretinis tishtara endra ok it inihak okwa inahak ikiana okuno hok o akanahit ina o anahit it inihik ik inahak okwa inahak okuno okwa inahat ina o anahesishtana hak okwa ma awa ina akukuno inahat init yakukumo ahanat ina akukuno okwana Doon het ini as este kukuno kan het ististere kukuno okuat at ina ukuno ho okua mo okua ne het ini este kini na kukumo kumoa ini het ini este kini kukuno at ina kukumo hat ini na hakua o ne het ini kini at akan hiki na kukua mo at ini na Okuno kene okuana atina kukuno atina hetina kini akunoa ina het ana hakukuno ano kumo hatina kinia ina no kuno ana hatini akukuno ana hatina diana akua mo ana heti ki ne hetina hakukuno ana hetina akakaniana. So I'm seeing this puts a new spin on polar dynamics. This puts a new spin on stellar dynamics. This puts a new spin on radiographics. This puts a new spin on everything. So what they're showing is that I'm seeing like out of one diamond, all these other diamonds are spilling out and it's like growing. So it's like growing a bigger diamond or more multiple diamonds. And I'm also showing that the fields that used to be able to have been usurped, so these as individual stones were more affected. But now as a sequence of one, it's less affected by what's the surrounding environment, so to speak. So also, it's easier to build resonance and stay in that resonance field, of course, because it's a working together unit. And they're showing that this creates other, I just keep seeing this spilling out of diamonds. So new creations will be able to be expressed from this. Just as new crystals are forming within the earth, you are forming new crystallized experiences or crystalline experiences, so to speak. And they're inviting me to remind you that crystal is not it's always growing. It's not just that's it and it's done. There's constantly a morphogenetic energy around it. It's always forming. Okay, they're guiding me to go back into the forging. So this fire then, let's say, melts the snow, right? And melts all of this together, alchemizes it, forges it back up, and creates this new shimmer. And I'm seeing a person shimmering, and it has a ripple effect. And it goes out into the field. So I'm just going to... Lots of energy is coming in right now, so I'm just going to breathe in through this. It's beautiful. A lot of heart opening, guys. If you guys are feeling like crying for no reason lately, go for it. It's so cleansing. I've been working with a few people lately, one-on-one, and we'll just start crying. It's because we're moving energy around, guys. Those tears, it's water melting the ice, melting into a beautiful shape and allowing us to let that fire of action come forward, compassionate action from the heart, forging ahead with the light that we are, and not this dim light that we were struggling to move ahead now. Now it's that phoenix rising. So I'm seeing this ripple effect that it has in the cosmos. I'm seeing this ripple effect, and I'm being guided to talk briefly about, for those that don't think that the monks are doing any good, or I have a guide who's a monk. So I'm just getting a little emotional because this is coming through. So there's a lot of beings out there. So if you don't think so, just I'm seeing all the monks, for example, holding space. They came here to hold space. There's people that think that they're just sitting up on a rock and they're just meditating and they're being selfish. And in reality, they're being selfless. Not that that's what we're all supposed to do. I didn't come here to be a monk. I came here to share this information with you guys and to work with healing work and activate people to their higher potentials and to channel my guidance team and so on and so forth. Everybody has their own journey, but a monk or a being that came here to be a monk, they're holding space and they're creating a vibrational field. They move mountains, literally, with their collaborative focus. They are doing work in non-doing, and that's their path. So what I'm seeing is all of these monks, for example, coming together like beautiful snowflakes, and they create this shine that ripples out into the universe that we don't see on a third dimensional or a lower density frequency, right, pattern, but it's happening. And we're doing the same thing in our own way. And there's pockets of this happening. So I work with a lot of beautiful light workers who are holding space for their area. I'm helping, they're helping me, I'm helping them, right? And as we connect with this diamond frequency, we're connecting with other diamonds. Just breathing, lots of big energies coming in through synchronicity, through opportunity. It's knocking, can you hear it? The sound is knocking. I'm hearing knocking on heaven's door. Can you hear it? So for those who have ears to hear, for those who have eyes to see, for those who have senses, use them. Utilize them. Utilize them. For they are working with you. And I'm seeing also, this is, we're moving into a little talk right now. It's not just about the chakras, it's about our senses. So pretend each of these is a sense. So we've got smell, taste, sound, sight, touch. I know there's another one. So let's just say it's 5 senses. These are morphing. So all of a sudden, I'm going to share an example that they're showing me. When I first went through cranial sacral, the cranial sacral 1 and 2, I received cranial sacral therapy sessions before going to these classes, as was a requirement, but I was also curious about it. And in one session, I tasted and felt the color orange. Now, if I say that, some people think of, well, it's an orange from an orange tree. No, you can't describe it. I felt orange. I felt what this color feels like, and it tasted, and all of my senses. I saw it, I tasted it, I felt it, touch. There was a certain sound associated with it, all in one, in a diamond way, so to speak. So recognizing that we're used to viewing our chakras a certain way. Root chakra is safety and security. Sacral chakra is sensuality and creativity. Our solar plexus is our will, right? Power. Our heart is love. Our higher heart, is communication, love, etc. our communication with our throat as our truth, right? Heart's so much more than just that. It's all of these things. But our third eye is the pineal, and we'll say intuition, and this is crown is connected to source energy and our extension to all things. Root is connected to earth star connected to earth, soul star connected to the heavens. It's all connected. So when you hear something, you feel it. You might actually smell something, and it smells a certain way to you. I've done Reiki sessions with people and I smell flowers, or I'll smell something burning, or I'll smell, there are certain things that come through that we're being invited to recognize those little changes, because again, if we're here, it's happening. Beethoven's still playing, but we just don't know it because it's so scrambled. All of a sudden, your peripheral vision might get better. And you might see little sparkles out of your corner of your eyes. How many of you guys are seeing the plasma, right? You might see someone's aura. You might see an energy around a bird flying through the sky. You might see a picture in your head and realize that your intuition is being triggered by a smell. It's all connected. So they're showing me that the senses are now expanding out into the extrasensory, extraordinary, right? None of these senses are ordinary, right? This is all coming online, rebooted, and now we're here. If we allow and we don't resist, I keep getting reference to The Shining. And again, I'm not encouraging you necessarily to watch that movie. It's very dark. But one of the things that I honor is Stephen King and his ability to bring forth the shadow aspect and fear. Yet there's always a light in his books. And granted, I don't read them anymore, but they were a big part of my life for a long time, and I understand now why. And in The Shining, there's a kid, he talks about he's got the shine. So I see this shine, and it ripples out into the world, and he's got this gift, and he smells, I don't know if it's oranges or something, when there's danger or when his shine is coming on. My point is that the shine is always there, and they're just kind of showing me that, that extrasensory ability, we all have it, we've just maybe been ignoring it, or it's been scrambled. And it's really nothing extraordinary. It's just what we had the whole time. We just didn't recognize it. But also, we weren't necessarily able to reboot. So they're showing me Back to the Future. I know, lots of movie references for those movie buffs out there. So in Back to the Future, it has to be set up a certain way in order for the car to get started. Remember the last scene where he couldn't start the car, and then he had to make it in time to get through that portal. It's kind of the same thing. It's like we've tried to start the car on multiple occasions, and then it went back into darkness, and now we're in that space where the car started. We're ready to go into that phase. We're already there. So I'm going to end on this note. For another video, I'll go into maybe a little bit more about the snow and the energy behind it, because sometimes the stuff that comes through is a little bit more sciencey. So in the meantime, in love and light, guys, I hope that kind of gave you a little idea about what's going on with our system, our chakras, from one perspective. In love and light, thank you guys so much.